Thank you for being with us this morning. This is very exciting, I think. Um, as you know, the district has implemented the Amex Go card, and the purpose of this is for us, all the travelers, to have flexibility when we're going to conferences. We are going to have an Amex Go virtual or physical card, and with that card, we're going to be able to pay registrations and fees. And at the same time, we're going to minimize the use of personal credit cards. So that's the purpose of us having an Amex Go card. And it's really easy. I have used it before, and I know that we have some people in Norco that already have it and that they have been using it. What I want to go through is how we request it and how we close the report at the end, okay? Because it's very important that when we go to a conference, especially when we're using grants, we want to make sure that we're reconciling those grants and those expenses are being posted in Galaxy. So if we go to a conference, but we don't close the expense report, then you're not gonna see those expenses hitting Galaxy. So right now, as I said, that's why we want to use the credit card. Sometimes the registration space is very limited, and by the time we talk to purchasing or we get a check issue, we lost our space, right? I know it has happened to us before. And sometimes the vendor requires the payment at the time of registration. At the same time, we're gonna have control of when we're gonna register and make the payment. And especially when we're asking accounts payable to send the check can be lost or it never gets posted to the vendor data, so it looks like we still owe money. As I said before, we also want to facilitate the expense report submittal, which when we use the card, you're gonna see all the transactions in Concur. So it's really easy, and I'm gonna go through an exercise so you can see how you can attach the expenses into your user profile. The use of the credit card does not, it does continue to require to have our itemized receipts. The Amex Go receipt that is uploaded to the system is only a statement. It tells you the date of the transaction, how much you spent, but it doesn't itemize the expenses. So in case that we pay for meals, we need to see or the district needs to see what was purchased, make sure that there's no alcohol, and that's why the itemized receipts are needed. Right now we have these 3 different type of payments. We can use the Amex Go card and the Citibank, and also we can have accounts payable cut a check. I need to spend a little bit of time here because right now we're not traveling, right? We're not purchasing tickets, but when we go back and somehow travel is approved again, we're gonna start using Concur Travel Store to make those registrations or payments. So if you're using the travel store, you're not gonna need the Amex Go card. So the Citibank is embedded in Concur, and it's gonna continue to get that credit card being charged. The car rental as well, and even the hotel. When you go in and reserve a hotel, the Citibank card is gonna save it for you. But when you get to the hotel, you will still have to use your Amex Go card to pay for it. So it is important to understand we still have to use that whenever you're using the travel store. The Amex Go card is only used when you book outside of Concur, okay, which could be your conference registration, your hotel as well, the car rental, and incidental, meals and parking. And accounts payable will, the only thing that they will be paying is mileage reimbursements. Right now, they're still making payments, direct payments to the vendors, but we want to minimize that with the use of the Amex Go card. And please note, the district has other credit cards available. So if the vendor does not accept Amex, or for some reason you don't want to use the Amex Go card, then you will have to go through purchasing to make sure you have your registration booked and paid. So if you're a new user of the Amex Go card, we need to email purchasing travel with the following information. You have to have your approved Concur request ID, your name and your cell phone number. It is important to provide a cell phone number because you will have to download an Amex Go card into your phone, and then you can manage your credit card from there. If you are already an existing user and you are, let's say you went to a conference this month, but then you have another one that you need to go to, you need to request additional funds. This process is not being done automatically right now. We still have to go through an email and asking purchasing to add additional funds. We do the same thing. We email purchasing with the approved Concur request ID. It has to be approved. It cannot be, we cannot be asking purchasing to load more money if the travel request has not been completed. Same thing, we add the name and the cell phone number. But let's say that Amex does not accept, I'm sorry, the vendor does not accept Amex, right? Then we're gonna go back to what we're doing right now. We're emailing purchasing, we're telling them the name of the requester, Concur request ID, how to pay the registration. Right now, what we're doing is we go to the website where when we're ready to register, we fill out the information, and then we do a screenshot of that and send it to purchasing. And purchasing will have to do the same thing when it gets to them and make the payment or do your registration. Then vendor may ask for additional information on, especially if you're going with students or you're paying with a grant. You might need T-shirts, and they want size, and sometimes they even ask if you have any allergies to food when they're providing food. So it's important to remember to send all the information to purchasing. So all these will be minimized if you have the card and then you do your registration, either the traveler or the delegate. So if a check is needed, let's say that the vendor does not accept Amex and they want a check. So we can ask accounts payable for a check, and we will have to submit the direct payment form with the vendor information and everything. And as I said before, we need receipts, and when purchasing is doing your registration and they're making the payment, make sure you save that email that purchasing is sending you to attach it as a receipt when completing your expense report. Okay, and also when you're completing your expense report, make sure you add a claim number that it's in Galaxy to reference that payment. So it takes longer to do this process. So if you're ready to to use your Amex Go card, you ask purchasing to send you one. I believe for Norco, we have a list going on trying to confirm who needs an Amex Go card. And but if you are not in that list, or if you haven't heard, please let me know. I can work with purchasing to make sure that you have an Amex Go card. We did it for the frequent travelers that we had in fiscal year 1920. So things might have changed, but please let me know if you need one. So after you have the card, it's gonna be assigned to you, and you're gonna get an email in your RCCD email account to download the app. Then you're gonna enroll and register yourself, and the instructions are here. And this presentation will be shared with everybody. Okay. You're gonna get a security code via text, and then you're gonna create a user ID and enter your birth date or date of birth, and you will be done with the registration. So it's really easy. And then you can have access to look at your Amex Go card all the time, and you can see your balances and your expenses as well. So after you have your Amex Go card set up, you can retrieve your registration, fill out the form, and pay your fees. And sometimes you're gonna have to call them because they want to take the numbers from you, or they can give you a different link to pay. Okay, and important, please do not type the Amex card numbers more than twice, as it will block the card from being used. So if you have any issues, just wait and a few minutes and start the registration again in case that it doesn't go through. Okay, so after we go to a conference and we come back, we already pay, we come back, then we're ready to submit an expense report. And as I said before, this is important because if we are using grant funds, we want to make sure that the expenses are hitting Galaxy. And the way that they hit Galaxy is when we come back and we close the whole report. If we just have it on a travel request, it's gonna continue to be encumbered. But when we go in and close the report and submit the report, then you're gonna see the expenses hitting in Galaxy. So first thing we do, I'm gonna show you really quick, but I'm gonna go through an exercise, and then you can ask me questions if you have any, okay? So we're gonna go to the request and click on the expense link, and make sure that you have all your receipts uploaded in Concur. When you go to the expense, you want to make sure that you attach the request ID. And I know that many times we've seen emails coming from Concur saying you have an itemized report that hasn't been completed, or and you say, well, I've already did it and I'm still receiving these emails. But that's because we're not linking the travel request to the expense report. Then what we need to do is click on import expenses, and then we need to move the expense to the current report. Then you'll see that if this is one transaction where you use the Amex Go card, you're gonna see the Amex Go card as a payment type default. It's gonna be there. You're not gonna be able to change it. And it's important that we do that when we're for reconciliation purposes. So we're not, we don't have any errors when we're trying to reconcile. Make sure you add the conference agenda. And The additional information that we have in regards to the Amex Go card is that they can be issued pretty fast. Aprilyn is great working with us, trying to have the Amex Go cards issued, and we send them to Purchasing Travel. And as I said before, it's important to do this when we're using grant funding. So let me go through an exercise. Okay, hold on one second as I go into my Concur. Okay, so here, remember, first thing is go to the requests. And make sure you hit the expense link over here. That way, it's going to link the travel request to the expense. When I hit that, it fills out the information by itself. I don't have to do anything in here. The only thing I do is I check the request here and I click next. Then I'm gonna go and hit import expenses. Okay, let me go back. I just wanna show you something here. If I just go to expenses, see how I have this transaction here, Agbo Sacramento. This, and it shows you the cards that you have. So this one, I did it using the Amex Go card, and you can see the description. It says what I paid, when I paid, and when it was posted, billing date, credit card number, or credit card number, and the amount. It doesn't have any itemization. It doesn't say that it is for registration or anything else. So this is more like a statement, right? So this is what I'm going to attach to the expense report. So I have it here. I've already initiated that. So it says not submitted. I'm gonna go back to my report, and then I'm gonna import expenses. And you see that the Agbo transaction is here. So what I'll do is I'll select that and I'll move it to my current report. So you see how it went to the other side, right? And the expense type is undefined. So I'll double click here. Okay, and see the payment type? It's already there and it's grayed out, which means I did this correctly. I was able to move the expense to this line item with the payment type that I used. You won't be able to change it. So that's one way to verify that you're doing it correctly. So what I'll just do is I'll just select conference registration, because that's the expense type that I'm using. And then I can save. Everything is fine. And I can save. And you can see here that you also need a receipt, right? So I'm gonna go to available receipts. I already have my my proof. This is what I used. So I can just move it from here. Okay. And it's already here. So it's ready for me to finalize it, save it, and submit. Okay. So it's asking me to attach the conference agenda, but that's That's something that I can bring from my travel request, and then it will be completed. It won't let me send it until I put it in. But it's pretty much what we need to do. Now I can, let me know if you have any questions about this. Isn't this easy?
Esmeralda, there is a question in the chat box.
Mm-hmm.
It says, what is the limit on meals? Maureen Sinclair is asking, what is the limit on meals?
Meals?
Mm-hmm.
Esmeralda, that's been a topic of discussion for many, many trips of what the limitation, since we're using the Amex card, sometimes let's say that your team or whatever decides they want to go to an expensive dinner and they know that the college isn't going to necessarily pay that amount for the meal. So how do we work that then?
Well, there is a language, they're just telling us it has to be reasonable.
Okay. There's a big wide difference of what's reasonable to one is not necessarily reasonable to another.
Mm-hmm. I understand that, Maureen. I do, and I have brought it up many times. Sometimes you just have to go with what you have on your budget. If you're paying it out of a grant and you have certain amount of money that you need, I think you have to make that decision.
Okay.
But that's, you know, we're not using per diem at this point. We're, you know, just going with what we have available in the budget, but it just has to be reasonable. And there has been time when I see that there is, you know, the expenses are high and I question them and I send them back. So, but I think people need to know upfront that, you know, the expenses have to be reasonable.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? I can't hear you. It looks like you're
Do you want to type your question in the chat box maybe?
yeah, we can't hear you. I'm sorry.
And anyone else, if you have any questions, type your question in the chat box. That might be an easier way. I know some people have issues with the microphone.
There was another question about student travel, and I wanted to let everybody know that that is available in Concur. And I can show you really quick what to do. It's different than group travel. Group travel is, for example, when we have an accreditation conference and we're gonna have 5 people going, and then there's one department that can set up the group travel for 5 people, which means the dates are gonna be the same, the vendor is gonna be the same, the amount is gonna be the same, and then Concur will issue separate travel requests for each traveler. It's different than when we do student travel. So for student travel, we go to new request, and I actually did prepare a test for today. So you fill out the request the same way, and whoever is filling out the request is the chaperone. And the chaperone is the one that is going to be in charge of all the expenses. The only difference, everything will be the same. The difference is the traveler type. You will have to choose non-employee guest chaperone. That way, Concur will give you the ability to put in the request for the students. So when you go to the expenses, you see on number 9, it says non-employee student guest expenses. So for example, if you want to rent a bus, you can go in and you can select. We have different vendors here in the system, and this is what purchasing uses to pay them. So purchasing will still have to do the payment, but we need to let them know who's doing this and make sure you upload your quotes that you're doing. So you won't need to do a requisition in Galaxy, because when you do this, the in Concur, it's being encumbered in Galaxy, so you don't have to do it twice. But we need to tell purchasing who is the vendor that we're choosing and what is it that we want to do. But I mean, the option is here. The only issue that I see is when we're paying out of AS&C, and we just want to make sure that we're using the proper code for that, so we can do the transfer of expenses later, because those funds are not in Galaxy. But it can be done, and I know we've done it before, and we have different expenses that we can do. Okay, so you can do the airfare, and if you want to do the airfare through the travel store, you can do that as well, or you can do it individually. But I will advise you to use the travel store because it's cheaper. You just have to call them and provide the name of the students and the information that they request. So this example is pretty much when we're doing everything outside of booking outside of Concur. You use your expenses. When you're using Concur, you put your travel into segments, which means you're going to be using your travel store. So do you have any other questions for Amex Go card?
Yeah, there are some comments in the chat box, Esmeralda. Dr. Oseguera says we desperately need a local meal per diem policy to prevent abuse. Meal limits should not be set by funding source because some grants have more funds than departments. That's something you address. How did, Eric is asking, how do you get the initial request into the system?
The initial Amex Go?
I think I guess what they're trying, I think what he's trying to say is when he first wants to enter a Concur request, whether it's a conference or something, how does he get that set up? How does he enter that first request? And Eric, let me know if that's not what you're saying. The conference was already in the system. How did he get there? How did he get the conference that you were showing? How did he get there? Because he was already there.
Oh, mine, the one I was doing. Okay, so what I did is I did a travel request. I got the Amex Go card. I used the Amex Go card to pay for my registration, and then Amex uploads the transaction into Concur automatically, so I don't have to do anything. And then when I'm ready to do the expense report, it's showing there. And all I have to do is link it to my expenses. See, when I've already put it in here, so it's not showing anymore. I don't have it because it's already linked. But that's something that Amex does automatically.
Eric, let us know if that answers your question. And then, yes, thank you. So now, Dr. Maureen Sinclair is asking, will a step-by-step guide come out? Are you talking about requests, maybe how to enter requests, or maybe what you did here today?
No, kind of what you did here today, because there may be people that are like new hires or new positions. And this is kind of an ongoing thing that, we have a lot of change of positions. So if we could have like a step-by-step guide, like first you do this, then you do this, kind of thing that we can hand off to somebody, especially like our GASs and things like that, that then they could kind of follow a step-by-step little guide.
So the presentation is going to be uploaded to the Concur site, Maureen.
Oh, okay.
And everybody has it. I mean, Lenny can share more, can share the link where the Concur, the other the initial training was set up, and we're gonna add this presentation there as well. So I'm sorry. Max, please, Max. I am so sorry. So I see another question. The receipt, is that the one we have to upload, or the one that is coming from Amex? So the one that is coming from Amex is only the statement, and that's done automatically. You still have to you can take a picture of your receipts and upload them through your Concur app as well, or you can take the picture and then upload them to your Concur profile through your computer, or send them to receipts@concur.com, and put in on the subject line, you have to put in your email address in order to send your receipts to your profile. There are 3 different ways to do it. But one, as I said, one is the statement, and one will be the itemized receipt.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Also, Dallas Carter is asking, is this like Apple Pay? If so, can we only eat at places that accept mobile payments?
I believe it has Galaxy Pay or something else. I was looking into that you can use your card as well. And there might be places that won't accept Amex as well. So we understand that. As I said, we will want to minimize and keep everything under, because if we give you the Amex card, but then at the end we have to do, or AP has to cut a check to reimburse you for the meal that you got, it's like doing it double. It defeats the purpose of issuing the Amex Gold card. But we understand that it might be issues when, there might not be other places, or I don't know, depending on the place that you go.
I think it will be anywhere that Amex is accepted, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Eric is saying he's brand new to this. He doesn't know how to make a travel request or an expense request.
Okay, so Lenny already shared the Concur link where the original request, the original training was posted. I don't know if we can do for Eric. Eric, it's very simple. When you already have access to Concur, you go to requests, and that's where you enter your request. So go to request, go new request, and fill out the information for what is the trip, where you going, and how will you book your travel. So Concur Travel is when we use the store here in the system, or we can use Concur and call the travel store. We can call them and book more complicated travel. This could be for students. When we have 10 students that are traveling that we don't want to use Concur directly, we can use the travel store and call them with the information. So these 3 options. And then when we book outside of Concur is when we don't have any travel or a rental, and we just have to pay for a conference. So if you do number 1, then you'll have access to the segments and you'll be able to book your trip there. If it's anything else, whenever you go to a conference, make sure you add all the expenses related to that conference. It has to be your registration, your mileage if necessary, or parking and meals as well. and it has to be approved by your direct supervisor and also by the person that is paying. So this will go, when you put it in, it will go to the approvers, and they will tell you which account you need to use. The account that we have here is the account that you're being paid out of, your salary account. It doesn't necessarily mean that the travel is going to be paid from that account. So it's important to know what the funding is to change it here. You can change it here, or you can change it in the expenses. I will say change it here, so it goes all the way through the expenses as well. Always make sure you know who's paying for it and what funding you're using. So it's pretty simple. You just fill out all the information here, and then you add the expenses. And as I said, depending on what you're being allowed, you add them and put the amount. Usually it's not paid by an outside entity unless that, let's say, the another district is paying for it. But I think there's some confusion when we say, well, this is being paid out of Moreno Valley or Riverside, or we're sharing a grant and Moreno Valley is going to pay. We're still the same entity, so we still have to say no, it is being paid by the district. This is only used when we're getting a grant. Let's say we're getting a grant from the state that they're going to reimburse us for this payment. So we're saying, yes, it will be paid by an outside entity, but at the same time, the district has to upfront the funds. So we just want to make sure that we put the note there so we can recoup those funds. Okay. And the approval flow will show you where the approval is at, where is it going, and I'm sorry, the approval flow will tell you where is it going next, and then the audit trail, it tells you where it has been. Okay, so all the information is here, and you just submit it and request it. And if you have any issues, Eric, you can call me or call Lenny or Maria or Anna. We'll be ready to help.
If I may, actually, can you hear me now, Esmeralda?
Sure.
Okay, thank you again. So basically the process, the first thing that we need to create a travel request in Concur. Mm-hmm. Once it's approved, then you list on that all of your expected expenses, travel, conference, miscellaneous, whatever. Once it is approved, then the Amex card, is it issued automatically or do you have to request it?
We send an email to purchasing. We have to request it through email at this point. And even when you already have it, if you have a new request and you want more funds added to your account, you need to send an email to purchasing. As I said, right now, that process is not automated yet. Okay. We still have to do it via email.
Okay, so but once an American Express has been issued, that remains with you, and then you just have to add the funds to it.
Yes, okay. Yes, you're gonna keep it all the time. You're not gonna return it.
And that's always a virtual card, not a physical card.
You can have a physical card if you need to. You need to let me know so we can request one. And the plan is to have them delivered to the cashier's office. And then whenever you have a chance, you can come and pick it up at the cashier's office.
Okay.
Or we can send them to your home address as well. So I will have to have that information.
As for someone like me, I'm working in the study abroad. And by the way, I am with the district office. But thank you guys for allowing me to be here. So is there any provision for like international travel, especially with the currency exchange and things like that in Concur? That's where difficulty has been always between the time you are traveling and the currency at a certain level. By the time you come back and you try to, match these, there is always some discrepancy here. And we go back and forth.
I think what you need to do is when you're putting your expense, your travel request, you will have to pad your account, or maybe just add a new item on expenses and just say, this is for to cover for any anticipated increases in currency changes. And that way you're not going back and forth and trying to reapprove it, because it's out of state and it has to go through the board and everybody. I think it will be safer to just have it approved up front.
From the very beginning. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Okay. That's fine. Yeah. Good.
Okay. Any other questions?
Tabitha is saying, will videos on how to create a travel first steps in Concur for new employees as well? This video will be posted, right? This video, Lenny is just saying this video will be added to the page.
Yes.
And Esmeralda has shown here how to do the travel request. And then next we have another question from Eric. He says, what if you need to be reimbursed for a conference you already attended and pay for out of pocket?
If you didn't use your Amex Go card, go ahead and use your go ahead and close out your expense report and make sure you add all your receipts and you will be reimbursed. So we're not expecting everybody to start using the Amex Go card right now. We're providing training, making sure that everybody has it and goes through the process of downloading the app and registering and having it ready. So if you have anything right now that you need to complete, go ahead and complete it. We're at the end of the fiscal year. We're getting there. So it's very important that all of our outstanding travel requests have an expense report attached.
Any other questions, anyone?
Lenny, did I miss anything, or do you want to go over any of the questions that people have emailed you about?
I do want to talk a little bit about approval flow and audit trail.
Okay.
So with approval flow, because faculty technically do not have direct supervisors, your supervisor needs to be added to the approval flow. So for most cases, faculty supervisor would be the dean of their school. So if you're in arts and humanities or social and behavioral sciences, then you would have Melissa Bader added to the approval flow. And if you're in the School of STEM or School of Business and Management, you'd have Jason Parks added to the approval flow. That's not something that automatically occurs. So if they need to be added, then you can do that in your request and in your expense. Another question that a lot of people have been having is, I've been receiving constant emails saying that I need to approve this request. Oh, and John thank you, John, for mentioning counseling faculty will go through Dr. Tanisha James as Dean of Student Services. Thanks, John. And so another issue that we've been having is that people are constantly receiving emails to approve a request, even though they should not be receiving them. Maybe they're not that budget manager. And that's usually what happens, is because they're listed as the budget manager for a particular budget string. So now we have a report that we recently received that allows us to view all of the budget strings and who the managers are. So we're working with April Lynn over at the district to get those updated, because we've noticed that especially with all the changes that are happening at the college level, the district won't automatically make those changes, obviously. So we have to notify them and make sure that those get updated. So if you see that, you're doing the right thing. Everybody's been emailing us, me, Esmeralda, Maria, and Anna, and letting us know that they are no longer part of that budget. So we're getting those workflows updated. So continue to do that, and thank you for your patience. But now we have a new tool that will assist us. And so when we have time, we're going to look through that whole budget report and be able to update the approvers so that you're not receiving erroneous notifications. Another issue that we've been having is that, let's say, and this one was mentioned recently by Gabby. Thanks, Gabby. And sorry, I haven't replied just yet, but I did see your email. That someone, let's say a supervisor has already approved, and now it's asking them to approve again. So we've noticed an issue or a glitch with Concur where it's changing back, or it's reverting back to an original approval, like it's moving backwards and then they have to go and approve again. Or if an approver was changed in the system to the correct approver and then it gets reverted back to the previous approver. And we're working with SAP Concur IT on that to figure out what the problem is, why that's happening, and hopefully we will have a fix for it. Sometimes it may be that the approver doesn't need to necessarily. Sometimes you'll see in the approval flow, it will say this approval step may be skipped, especially if there's multiple levels of approvers on an approval for a budget. So it isn't always necessarily that that person has to be the one to approve. And the skip process is in place so that if somebody is maybe they're on leave and they need to, but there are multiple approvers for a budget, that particular approver can be bypassed and the other approvers can approve. And so we have that process in place. Sometimes you'll see that as a message on your approval flow tab. So, but in a lot of cases recently, this is the issue that I was talking about that we're working with IT on. So again, thanks for your patience on that. I think one of the main things that I took away from what Esmeralda was mentioning today was making sure that you connect your expense to your travel request. You know, it's easy to go into the expense tab and create a brand new expense report for recently completed travel. You know, you could do that and Concur wouldn't say anything to you like, you know, hey, why aren't you connecting this to the travel request that you have in the system? But if you do it the way that she mentioned, and I'll make sure that this presentation gets put on the Concur page on the website, it's going to make things a lot easier for you because you'll be able to import your expenses. Everything will be connected. The whole encumbrance, disencumbrance process will occur. But if you go in and you submit a separate expense report, something separate from the travel request, then it's just going to make things a lot more difficult for us to be able to reconcile. So I particularly appreciated that Esmeralda was going through those entire steps. And so I think that this presentation is valuable in that alone. You know, like if you saw just now when she went to the screen that showed all the travel requests, there was that link that says expense. So clicking expense is important because then you'll be able to see where you can check your travel quests to link the two together. So that's very helpful. I know there's probably several more issues that I haven't touched on, but you know, those are the things that I'm seeing the most of right now. So I appreciate this presentation because we're able to kind of capture all that.
So Lenny, there is a question on how we add approvers. So when you're ready to submit your request, you can do it here. It tells you add a step after this step or before. So it depends on what you want to do. Usually it will be before. If in this case, if I have my direct supervisor, I don't need to add it, but faculty will need to add it before. So I will say they will do this and then they will add the user approver. So if I want to add Tanisha, then I can add her here. Okay, and then save it and submit. And there was another question for approvers for budget. You don't necessarily have to add them in the approval flow. Where the Concur is set up already actually Concur is set up right now for direct supervisor, area VP, and VP of business services. So if you want to add the budget manager, or if the direct supervisor or your direct supervisor is not paying for it and you want to include the budget manager, you can do it here as well. And I know that sometimes it happens via email. You get the approval via email and you can attach that approval as well. If you have that approval, then you don't need to do it in Concur as well. So either or will be enough. Okay. Any other questions?
Hi, Esmeralda. I just had a question about, I can see how a lot of things are going to be paid with a credit card, but also with our personal or reimbursement, depending on who doesn't accept Amex. But I can see how it can get confusing for, like, when we're inputting our expenses, we have to keep track of what we used our Amex card for, so that we can put that into the details, right, of how we paid.
Yes, but remember, when you use your Amex Go, you're gonna see them. Those expenses are going to upload to Concur, so you're gonna see them there.
Except for meals.
Even the meals, when you use your card anywhere, they will be uploaded as well. Okay. The only thing you won't see is the itemized receipt, but you're gonna see the statement of the purchase.
Oh, okay, I didn't know it was for meals too. Okay.
Yes, so anywhere where you use it, if you use it online or if you use it in a restaurant, it's gonna be uploaded. Okay.
And Esmeralda, doesn't the app keep track of the expenses as well?
Yes, you're gonna see them there. When you wanna go in and check your balance, you're gonna see the expenses as well. It's really neat, actually. Well, I just, let me know if you have any travelers in your area that you want them to have an Amex Go card issued. We can do that in in a list to Aprilline instead of sending one by one. So send it to me. Don't send them to purchasing right now. But in the future, if you want to, if anybody new comes in, let's just send them to purchasing directly.
Esmeralda, earlier, sorry, somebody else was talking.
Go ahead.
Okay, earlier on, you said there is a possibility for a different card rather than Amex, Go, especially for international travel. American Express is not widely accepted, So is there a possibility for like a Visa card similar to this?
I don't think the district is talking about a different card. What I meant is, in case that the vendor does not accept Amex, we will have to contact the district purchasing department, and they will have to make the payment using a different card, but it's not going to be issued to the traveler.
Okay.
So maybe what you need to do, all those big expenses that you have, they will have to be done by purchasing and just minimize the amount of funds that will go into the Amex card.
Okay.
Okay, or you can contact John directly and see, but I haven't heard, John, our controller.
Okay.
I had a question about group travel. I know, let's say it's like 5 people. Obviously, everybody would do their own, but if it's a larger group, can we, instead of getting credit cards for everybody, can we still input a group travel under one person?
The difference with group travel and chaperone is different. Group travel, you should have another link here. What is it, Lenny? Is it group travel?
So that one is called the event request.
Event request.
And so with the event request, what you have to do is I have to request that you be given access to that. And once you're given access, when you click new request, you're going to see one of your options will say new event request. And that will allow you to enter all the information once. It'll allow you to enter the participants. And then when you're ready, you're going to click a button that will generate individual travel requests for each of those participants, for each of those attendees. And then at that point, they can continue the process, or you can continue for them as the delegate and be able to submit individual requests. The nice thing about the event request is just it allows you to enter all the information in one shot, and then it'll generate the individual requests for you for each attendee.
And Bernice, it was done that way because even when right now we're not going out, we're not traveling, but in the future when we go back, hopefully, then you will have to have people given a particular credit card. The district doesn't want to see one big payment for 5 people that ate together. They want them to, be on their same TR. But I think for now we'll continue to do it that way. I see what you're saying. You're saying instead of having 5 different credit cards, can we just have one, and then we can pay for that? I can check with John if there is a possibility to do it, but it will have to be done under chaperone. But that couldn't be done because they're not. I mean, they are employees, and that is only for non-employees. So I don't think there is a possibility. I can check, but I don't see it happening soon.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, complaints about Concur? No, please.
Esmeralda, I'm sorry, this is Leo. I do have a question. As someone who's going to be traveling to different sites, is there a possibility that I could potentially get like a guide as to how I submit an expense report for mileage? I received training back in last year, but it's been a while, and since we haven't been traveling, I'm kind of rusty on that. So I don't know if there's something that, and I know the training the time's pretty much up pretty soon. So I don't know if there could be a way that I could receive like a guide for that. And then
So I'm sorry, for that, it's really easy. So only if they travel more than 50 miles, then you will have to need, I'm sorry, it's 100 miles back and forth, then you will have to need a travel request. If it's less than that, you don't need to. Then you can just go in and create go to expense, create a new report. And I'm sorry. Then here, you will have to go to fill out the information and with whoever is traveling and the dates. Usually for mileage, we do for the whole, we can do it for the whole month. So you can do May 1st to May 31st. And what is the purpose of that, right? You can do meetings and what's the traveler type and all that. Then when you go to the next one, I don't think it's gonna let me do it until I fill everything up.
It's okay. You don't have to run through the whole thing. It's all right. I'll play around with it. I just know that I don't know if it's like if there's personal travel, like if you're using your own personal vehicle, you would select then for where it says, does this trip contain personal travel? I don't know if that's what it means. Like, are you using
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Okay.
So personal is usually when you go to a conference and you go and the conference starts on Monday, but you travel on Saturday because you want to spend Sunday in Sacramento or somewhere. So you're adding personal travel dates, but doesn't necessarily mean that those days are covered by the district. That's why you put it in there.
Esmeralda, I think for what Leo was, he's talking about because we go to the different high school site, you know, so we've never done an expense report that way. We've just filled out that mileage sheet of paper for the month. And it's really simple. It's not, now I don't know if they're now incorporating that into Concur, but it's not, I mean, it's like 6 miles, 4 miles, you know, that type of thing. It's not over the 50 threshold. I mean, it may be for the month, but it's not per incident.
Right.
So
Maureen, I'm sorry, Esmeralda. Maureen, the only reason why I asked was when I had the training back when Myrna gave the training to myself, to Luis and myself, she was using Concur. That's why I was just asking, but I don't know if I'll be just using a single sheet for that.
Yes, we have been using Concur for mileage. I haven't seen any paper ones recently. So any monthly mileage reports are submitted through Concur.
Okay.
So I fill out the first page, right? Then I'm going to monthly mileage report. It's important to choose this one and not anything else. And then here you can do it by date. So if you have it only one date, like 5/3, for example, and then you fill out that, and then you can use the mileage calculator. It tells you from Norco, for example, to Norco College, to what location?
Corona High School.
Sorry.
Esmeralda, it's okay. I know the time's up and I don't want to keep you from, your time. So it's okay. I can just play around with it. I just wanted to know if I would be doing it. I'm sorry, go ahead.
If you put exact addresses, it's gonna give you the mileage right away. So it's easier to put the 2001 3rd Street and then the Corona High School, the exact mileage. I mean the exact address, and it's gonna give you that. And then you can put in the comment. See how the payment type is out of pocket and it's grayed out. You cannot change it. That's That's why you need to be reimbursed for that. And then you just use the mileage calculator to get that information and add it. Add mileage to expense and make sure if it's round trip or if you need to deduct commute, you check that and then you add the mileage. And it's gonna go there. Okay.
And it's still that if you, let's say if you start at a high school, you can't claim mileage from your home to the high school. Only if you then go from the high school to the college.
Yeah, all right. I think Myrna mentioned that something about, something about.
And saying
not
if
from
you
your home.
end at one of the high schools, you can't claim your mileage from the high school home.
Yeah, the district doesn't pay for you to go to work.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
Or go home.
Yeah.
Right, that makes sense.
Okay, so yeah, you can use this and you can add all the dates during that month in this report, and then just make sure you put in here what's the purpose of the trip, and that's it. The purpose of the trip and any comments, and they're gonna come to me after they are approved by your direct supervisor, the grants, or whoever is paying for it, and the BPs. Okay.
Thank you, Esmeralda.
Thank you.
Esmeralda, we have one more question from Eric.
Okay.
He says, I have an ongoing fee expense for a business school accreditation. It takes a very long time to get this fee paid. Is it possible to set it up with Amex card?
Amex card is only related to travel. If we need to pay, we can work with purchasing to have purchasing use their credit card to pay it. But we will have to have a requisition in place for that.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I think we've come to the end of our training, correct?
If we don't have, do we have any other questions?
No more questions. Anyone?
Just a quick request, a question here for, employee who are belonging to the district. Who should we go to in order, like, to get the event request to be added to our profile, or get, the American Express card issued? Who do you think would be there at the district office?
Lenny, do you mind answering that question? I believe April Lynn is helping, but I don't know who else.
Yeah, I would email all questions to April Lynn, and if she needs to reroute it, she can. She's basically the Concur functional administrator for the district.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. This was a really good meeting. I'm glad everyone attended. We have another one from 1 to 2 today. If you want to attend or let other people know. And I will be sending out another email with a registration link for that.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Please send me your questions if you have any.
Thank you.